Most people think cartoons were just mindless childhood entertainment, but every now and then, one of them would randomly drop a piece of financial advice better than most people get in their entire life. Luckily for you, us at Not Fair Studios have done the digging and pulled together 7 financial rules completely free from a bunch of cartoon characters. You're welcome. Now, if you've got to think of any cartoon character that probably has a shit ton of money, who's the first person that comes to mind? Maybe the penny-pinching Mr. Krabs. He has a bloody safe behind his office desk. He works, but Mr. Krabs' financial advice would probably be go out searching for buried treasure. No, the true kind of hoarding money would be a duck so rich, he swims in his own pile of cash like a f***ing madman.
There was so much money I could swim through it. Which is still one of my favourite pastimes.
That's right, you can't start a list about cartoon characters with good finances without talking about bloody Scrooge McDuck, the only person that can swim in a pool of his own money. Seriously, Peter tried it and it didn't go so well.
Ah! It's not a liquid!
That f***ing ball of dough aside, it's easy to see why Scrooge might be the richest cartoon character in, well, ever. With that much cash, you'd think he just stumbled onto a very, very lucky break that changed his entire life. Well, you'd be wrong, because the episode Once Upon a Dime actually shows us exactly how he got there. And it all starts with a single dime that he earned as a kid shining shoes in Scotland. It sounds like a pretty deep origin story, but it's actually not as crazy as you think. You don't need a bloody adventure and magic to get rich, and Scrooge might as well be the poster boy for that fact. Back when he was a wee lad and left to America to make his fortune, his dad pulled him aside and passed on the one piece of advice that ended up shaping his entire bloody life. He tells young Scrooge to work smarter, not harder.
It's hard to squeeze out a good living that way. You deserve better. I want you to work smarter, not harder, lad.
And Scrooge takes that one sentence and runs with it for the rest of his time on Earth. From the way he carries himself to the way he solves every problem that comes his way. It's clear Scrooge took this lesson to heart. In that very episode, as he's trying to figure out a way to get to the bloody US of A in the first place, there just seems to be something around every corner that keeps bloody going wrong. And every single time, Scrooge doesn't throw more effort at it. He thinks his way around it. And it's not just that episode either. Time and time again, we see Scrooge putting his brain to work whenever there's something he needs to take care of, instead of flexing his muscles. And the result? The biggest bloody money bin on the planet. Hell, probably the only money bin on the planet. Now, what's the lesson here? Well, it's that you don't have to be born rich to get a chance to swim in money. Sure, it might break every bone in your body like Peter Griffin found out the hard way, but you'll have the money to pay the hospital bills. What else did we learn? Well, there are people all over the world absolutely killing themselves at jobs that are slowly swallowing them whole. They work 12-hour shifts and run on nothing but dreams, coffee, and spite. And what do they get for their troubles? They stay exactly where they are. Meanwhile, the people actually getting ahead aren't necessarily working harder. They're trying to figure out the laziest way to get things done effectively without breaking their backs for it. And that's from a cartoon from 1967. We're just getting started because the tips you'll learn in this video will blow your bloody mind. Like in a more recent show. Teen Titans Go. Now put down your pitchforks for a second, I get it. That show gets a lot of shit. And here at Not Fair Studios, we'll usually be right there with you, throwing tomatoes. But sometimes, the show takes a step back and just randomly drops some decent financial facts that make you sit back and wonder, who the hell thought of this goofy-ass show? Take an episode where Robin is handing out paychecks to the Titans and decides to ask what everyone plans to spend their money on. The gang just want to get things for their hobbies, like Raven wanting new books, but Robin can't have that. He completely blows up at them after hearing their mundane plans.
Money is not to be wasted on things that bring you happiness and joy. Money is to be hoarded until you have enough money that your money makes more money.
Now, is Robin absolutely insufferable about it? Of course he is. He's Robin. He makes every correct thing he says somehow also incredibly annoying at the same time. But strip away the smugness, And he's not wrong. The idea of paying yourself first, as in putting money away before you spend a single penny of it, is one of the most powerful financial habits you can build. And most people do the exact opposite. They spend first, pay their bills, and then save whatever's left, which is usually nothing. It's a pretty powerful financial lesson that can go a very long way in helping anyone build a good savings plan. And it's absolutely f***ing perfect that immediately after this powerful bit of advice, the show then shifts to Beast Boy making a bee-based company.
I actually owe this all to you. You told me to respect money, and now I'm the richest man in the world. Now, what can I do for you?
The point that 5 seconds of Robin being a preachy little arsehole is actually not a bad financial principle that a lot of adults still haven't figured out. Put money away first, before the bills and the food shop, and that one glance at Amazon to look for Horrid Henry merch. Just me? Whatever. Moving on. Pay yourself first. Everyone and everything else can f*** off. But that's not the only time Teen Titans Go stop the madness to actually teach something. I know, just bear with me for a bit. There's another episode where Robin decides that the Titans need to learn a real lesson, and that real lesson is how to buy a rental property as a long-term investment. Yeah, he just bloody woke up one morning and decided that he would give his bone-headed teammates a lesson about property equity. And honestly, fair play to him for that.
But no one else is teaching this valuable information. Rental property is one of the best ways to build equity.
So, Robin finds them a rundown building full of supervillains. Why this exists at all is a mystery on its own. But being that, it's a perfect investment property apparently. He tells them that they can buy it, rent it out, and build equity over time. The Titans are actually in until Robin tells them it'll cost £500,000. $500,000 technically, but still. £500,000 is a lot more than $500,000. But still, this goes about as well as you'd expect. And the Titans proceed to completely lose their minds for probably the 3rd time that week.
Are you crazy?
That is more money than anyone's ever had!
So, he calls Batman, because when you need $100,000 down payment, you call your daddy with the Batcave. That in itself is kind of financial advice, but the real bit of advice is way more on the nose than that. And I have absolutely bloody no clue why people don't talk about this more. After they get the money, Robin sits them down and talks them through the entire purchase. He lectures them on credit scores, bank loans, good faith estimates, and all the draining paperwork. Of course, the Titans are the picture-perfect representation of ADHD stereotypes, and they're bored out of their skulls.
First thing we're going to have to consider is our credit score. A credit score is measure of one's credit worthiness.
Blah, 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 blah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'd be bored out of my bloody mind too if someone decided to try and explain credit scores to me on a bloody cold British Monday. But this is actually something people should be aware of. Most people see a price tag on something and don't realise that those numbers are a literal scam. There's the deposit, the legal fees, the surveys, the mortgage, the maintenance, the insurance, and about 17 other things that they don't warn you about until you're already in too deep to back out. The episode literally ends with Robin looking into the camera and telling the viewers to go to a library or talk to a local estate agent before buying anything. It honestly feels like someone at Warner Bros. Is trying to do better financial and legal services to kids than any school ever has. And Teen Titans Go isn't the only show that tries to hammer a point across harder than your bloody lawyer. Believe it or not, one of the darkest truths in society is masked as a SpongeBob episode. Although, with the kind of shit that people have theorised about SpongeBob, that's not too far-fetched. Remember when I talked about Mr. Krabs earlier? Well, that man is incapable of crafting good financial advice because he has to be the most villainous small business owner in the history of fiction. He's the kind of crustacean that decides that profits are down $3 and that the solution is to start charging his employees for literally existing. It gets so bad that he literally hands Squidward a bill instead of a paycheck.
What is this? You're making me pay you to stand at the cash register? What is the meaning of this? Have you gone off the deep end?
Squidward, quite sensibly, goes absolutely mental at this and convinces SpongeBob that they should go on strike. SpongeBob doesn't know what a strike is, but he's in. They set up outside the Krusty Krab with picket signs, but of course, somehow ends up bringing in more customers. Brilliant.
How about this, Squidward?
SpongeBob, it's unfair, not fun fair.
A fun fair? Where? Oh, I could go for some fun.
At the Krusty Krab.
Hey, everybody. Let's go to the fun fair.
SpongeBob gets a bit over-enthusiastic about Squidward's speech about dismantling the oppressive establishment and spends the night literally taking the Krusty Krab apart piece by piece. When Mr. Krabs sees the wreckage in the next morning, he sentences both of them to work at the Krusty Krab forever to pay for the damages. And SpongeBob is absolutely delighted. He got his job back. Forever. And then literally an eternity later, where we see Squidward and SpongeBob still working long after death.
We got our jobs back. Forever. 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 Forever.
One eternity later.
That image should genuinely haunt people. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean it in a very practical, boring, financial planning kind of way. If the only plan you have is to keep turning to the same job and trading your time for a wage with no other strategy, no investments, no side income, no savings working for you, this is where you end up. Not quite as a skeleton in an under-the-sea burger restaurant, but close enough to make you feel uncomfortable. SpongeBob loves his job, which is beautiful. But loving your job doesn't mean you shouldn't have a plan that goes beyond it. Trading time for money is fine. Trading all of your time for money with no way out is a trap. And at that point, you're basically selling your soul to keep the lights on. And if you think that's how crazy it can get, then you are oh so wrong. Family Guy's resident walking ball of ham. Peter Griffin may be an actual sentient environmental disaster, but sometimes he's got lessons to teach. It all happens in an episode where the Griffins are skint. Lois is trying to get everyone on a budget, and Peter is already annoyed about it. Then the Rhode Island lottery jackpot climbs to $150 million, and Peter, in a completely normal and responsible move, takes out a second mortgage on the house to buy 200,000 lottery tickets.
That's the answer right there. We'll just win the lottery. In fact, I'm going to go buy my winning ticket right now.
Peter, what's wrong?
It's, nothing. I'm just going to win.
And they win. Of course they win. This is Family Guy. Now here's where it gets instructive. Lois, from the very first moment the money arrives, says she doesn't want to change them. She wants them to stay the same family that they've always been. The problem is, the same family they've always been are still all bloody pieces of shit, with barely any human decency. Peter nods along and then immediately quits his job. Buys a mansion, gets a private jet, hires a butler, and starts forcing Joe and Quagmire to do humiliating things for his entertainment. It's crazy what money will let you get away with.
Me with your mouth open. Look at yourself, you filthy whore.
Ugh.
I don't even want this now.
And then, 1 month later, it's gone. All 150 million gone. Now, there's a very low chance that any of us are ever going to see that much money in our lifetimes. But it doesn't have to be that much money for something similar to happen. Peter may be an actual f***ing moron, and I struggle to wonder how it's even possible to spend that much money so quickly. But he's a clear sign that you should let the money change you. Because stumbling into life-changing money while still being an actual f***ing sentient sausage will help no one but the companies you're throwing the money at to buy all that expensive stuff. Where's the proof of that? Well, the Griffins win the lottery a second time later in the episode and manage to go broke again even faster.
No, I don't want it back. Lois, give him the ring.
What? No.
Give him the ring, Lois. I swear to God, I'll cut your finger off.
Oh, you beast.
I'm gonna miss you.
And since we're on the topic of the more adult shows, does anyone else remember Futurama? It wasn't as over-the-top as Family Guy or as super iconic as The Simpsons, but it had some decent lessons of its own to share. Take Fry, the main character who fell into a cryogenic tube in 1999 and woke up in the year 3000. Have you ever thought about what happened to his money while he was gone for a millennia? Well, in all that time, his bank account sat there quietly, completely forgotten, doing absolutely nothing except earning interest. Before he got accidentally frozen in time, he had just 93 cents in that account.
Okay, you had a balance of 93 cents.
That is an abysmally small amount of money. But it had 1,000 fucking years to grow, and at 2.25% interest per year, compounded annually for 1,000 years. That 93 cents became $4.3 billion. The maths is correct, by the way. The writers actually worked it out. $4,283,508,449.
Years, that comes to $4.3 billion.
From 93 cents. Oh yeah, Fry then blows the whole lot on a bidding war over the last tin of anchovies in existence. Oh my god, I love anchovies. And loses everything when Mom tries to trick him into revealing his PIN number while using Pamela Anderson's decapitated head in a jar. I'd say that part is less relevant.
What do I owe you?
1077. Same as number.
The relevant part is the money he wasn't using literally made him a billionaire while he was asleep. He did nothing and wasn't even conscious to do any work. The money just sat there, compounding, multiplying, doing what money does when you leave it alone for long enough. Now, obviously, you're not going to live for 1,000 years, and an interest rate that small isn't going to change your life anytime soon. But the point still stands. Work for your money, but let that same money work for you. Fry stumbled into an accident and blew it on fish. Don't be Fry, although anchovies are fucking amazing. And since we mentioned The Simpsons earlier, why don't we talk about them for a bit? And it's the perfect ending to all of this, with a warning for what I literally just told you to do. Let me explain. It all starts when Homer notices that pumpkin sales have been going up all October. So he decides to invest in pumpkin futures. He is very excited about this, and by all means, he's absolutely convinced this is a genius move.
Homer, the Wall Street genius!
Yeah!
His broker has told him 100 times that pumpkin futures need to be sold before Halloween. They peak during Halloween, and by November, they all rot. But because Homer has nothing but beer and French fries on the brain, he doesn't sell. October ends and the pumpkins rot, which means he loses everything.
Homer, you knucklebeak, I told you 100 times. You gotta sell your pumpkin futures before Halloween, before.
Oh, how am I gonna tell Marge we're broke?
He tries everything to get the money back, and nothing seems to be going his way.
Sure, Homer, I can loan you all the money you need. Since you have no collateral, I'm gonna have to break your legs in advance.
And now Homer has got to go and beg Patty and Selma, his two sister-in-laws, who absolutely despise him, for a loan to cover the mortgage, in exchange for him becoming their personal servant.
Chance. Bottom of the barrel, Hail Mary, long shot. Wish you would do it, but probably won't. Final resort to lend me money.
We know something you don't want Marge to know. Now we own you.
I doubt you'll be crawling like a dog for your sister-in-laws, but you get the point. If you have no idea what the thing you're investing in does, then don't invest. So, in the end, the biggest lesson here is simple. Money is not just about how much you earn, but what you do with it. Work smarter, save first, think before you buy, and never invest in something you don't understand. Because every cartoon idiot on this list proved the same thing. More money does not automatically make you smarter. It just makes your mistakes much more costly. Subscribe to Not Fair for more videos like this, and cheerio!